Hello and welcome back to the channel. It has been a long 3 months without Premier League football, but tonight in little over 3 hours time, as of recording, the Premier League season returns, and we are back, and we are going to be giving our predictions for the first weekend. We'll dabble into a little bit of transfers and whatnot, and because that's what you do on the first week. You can't really predict. You can predict it, but you can't really tell where teams are, as in you know, oh, uh, the three promoted teams are definitely going down, blah, 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 yada, yada. So, without further ado, let's dive in to the first fixture, which is, of course, tonight, and it is Liverpool versus Bournemouth. The champions begin their campaign at home. What is going to be an emotional filled night, obviously following the death of Diogo Jota and his brother Andre. Um, yeah, the atmosphere is going to be somewhat supercharged for this. And I think the players themselves and the manager will obviously want to make sure that they kickstart this season with a bang and give testament to obviously Diogo and his brother. Now, the Reds have been extremely proactive during the transfer market. They've signed some great players, haven't they? None less than Florian Wirtz. Where do we start with him? Um, One of the world's best in what he does. Um, and they've spent big. They've spent big, and unfortunately, you know, that's what today's business is. You spend big, you're probably going to get success. They've obviously signed Milos Kerkez from Bournemouth, Jeremy Frimpong from Leverkusen, uh, George. Now, do not judge me for my pronunciation on some of these names because some of these names are horrific. um, Georgi Marmadashvili, I think I've said that right. Obviously Hugo Ekitike, um, obviously great goal to start his campaign in Liverpool shirts. Armin Pexi from Puskas, wherever I would presume that's Hungarian, and Freddie Woodman from Preston. I guess they just needed a backup goalkeeper. So obviously they've got rid of Kelleher. Nunez is gone. Trent's obviously gone. Kwanzaa's gone. Diaz is gone. And then they've lost a few to loans, such as Owen Beck who's gone to the mighty Derby County. Let's go. um, but yeah, I think Liverpool are in a very, very strong position to start the season well. The last opening day defeat at Anfield was 21 years ago, and that was against Chelsea, when obviously Chelsea were up there. Um, and yeah, um, Bournemouth, in contrary to Liverpool, I think they could struggle this season. They've lost obviously a lot of key players. Zabani, sorry, Kirkez, Hoyson, Jaden Anthony, all featured very, very much part of last season's squad. Um, and to be fair, apart from Petrovic, the goalkeeper, I think he's a goalkeeper. He might not be. Correct me if I'm wrong. I just remember seeing the name Petrovic in Chelsea and maybe a goalkeeper. Um, I don't. I mean, the other four I've never heard of because I don't follow European football, especially French football. They've signed Bafode Diakite from Lille, Eli Junior Kroupi, again from Lorient, and Adrian Truffert from Rennes. I presume that's how you pronounce it because his name looks French. Um, However, the Cherries usually do start well. They haven't lost on the opening day since the 17-18 season. That's remarkable how long Bournemouth have actually been in the Premier League. Absolute crazy stat. However, I cannot see anything other than a Liverpool win. So my prediction for this one, Liverpool 3. Bournemouth nil. Moving on to tomorrow's games, the first of which is the lunchtime kickoff. A tasty one, isn't it? Aston Villa versus Newcastle. These opened the season up 2 years ago, I believe, at St James's Park. This time it's obviously at Villa Park. Um, you know, I think Villa's transfer window, despite not really signing too many players, is not a bad transfer window. You know, they kept the likes of Watkins, Tyrone Mings, Morgan Rogers, and Youri Tielemans, and there's probably more that you can name up there that featured pretty much for the majority of last season. Um, they do, however, look set on losing Jacob Ramsey to Newcastle. I think the last I saw of that, he was flying to Newcastle for a medical. Um, and again, like Bournemouth, they've signed players that I wouldn't have a clue who they are. Yasin Ozkan from Kasimpasa, wherever that is, don't know. Zepiqueno Redmond, I probably butchered that name, from Feyenoord. Marco Bizzo from Brest, and Evan Giesand from Nice, and also Modu Kebasise from Lask. However, they have loaned him back to Lask. But yeah, no real apart from Coutinho. I mean, he was still a backup player last season, wasn't he? They haven't lost any major players to the core of the team, which I think, from a Villa perspective, is a great thing. They just need to now go and sign someone of proper, proven quality, whether that be someone from, I don't know, Real Madrid, PSG, or wherever. Um, you know, they've kept the core of the team, which I think is a good thing. Um, Newcastle. Well, where do we start with Newcastle? Obviously, the big talking point is obviously Isak. You know, will he go? Will he stay? Does he want to play? At this at this moment, only he knows. I don't think he will feature for Newcastle. I think, from what I've read, he's probably burnt all bridges with Newcastle, which is a shame, really, considering Newcastle are in European football this season. You know, you'd think that he'd want to play. I get it. Liverpool at the moment, as it stands, the best team in England. I get it, but you're not a terrible team. It's not as if he's scoring 30 goals a week for. Sorry, I'm just going to pull one out Fulham or Everton or a mid-table team like that. You know, he's playing for a team that have pushed in the past few seasons for European football. Um, but yeah, as regards to signings as well, like, you know, they've had two major targets like sniffed out from underneath their feet. Um, Mbemo, and I forgot the other one. It might come to me later on in the thing, but Sesko, wasn't it? Yeah, both taken by Man United, which again we'll talk a little bit on Man United in a bit. Um, they have brought in Anthony Elanga from Forest, which, as much as I dislike Forest, he had a very very good season with Forest last season. They've also brought in Aaron Ramsdale from Southampton, Antonio Cordero from Malaga, and Malik Diao from AC Milan. I feel like I've heard that name somewhere. So, you know, again, they haven't really, apart from Dubravka, but again, he was just backup goalkeeper. Sean Longstaff featured, I think, for some of last season. Um, they haven't lost any fully lost any noticeable faces from the core of last season's team, which I think, again, like Villa, you can take that as a plus, Newcastle fans. Um, Newcastle on the opening day do tend to do well as well. Obviously, including 2 seasons ago when they played Villa, they've won the last three. As for a prediction on this one, I'm going Villa 2, Newcastle 1. Um, I think Villa are in a slightly better position at the moment. Moving on to the first of the 3 o'clock kickoffs, it's Brighton versus Fulham. And the Seagulls have lost a lot of big faces from last season's squad. And I will say the players that they brought in, I can honestly say, never heard of them. Um, but we know what Brighton have been like since coming up to the Premier League, and even since just before coming up to the Premier League, they seem to sign these players that nobody's ever heard of, and then build them up into very, very good Premier League players, um, which, you know, is the foundation of building a somewhat successful club. I wish I wish teams like Brighton and I guess you could include teams like Bournemouth who finished well last season just not become these selling clubs. It happens all the time, and I just think it's just unfair, really. But it's football at the end of the day, isn't it? They have brought in Maxim de Kuiper from Bruges, Olivier Boscagli from PSV. I have no idea who any of these players are. Diogo Coppola from Verona, Tom Watson from Sunderland. Heard of him, obviously, being a Derby fan. Uh, Sunderland were in the Championship last season. Yoon Do Young from Daejeon Hana Citizen, South Korean. Probably going to follow his progress. Uh, this is a good name. I love this name. Charalampos Kostelos from Olympiakos. That's a great name. Even better than that, Nils Ramming. Brilliant name from Frankfurt. That is quality. Um, however, like this is what I'm saying about the big players. They've lost a Dingra to Sunderland, which I think quality signing by Sunderland, by the way. João Pedro to Chelsea, again, really good signing for Chelsea. Purvis Estepinian to AC Milan. Uh, Evan Ferguson to Roma. Yeah, it's only on loan, but I thought a few seasons ago everyone was raving about Evan Ferguson about how good he's going to be. Yet to really set the Premier League out on fire, so maybe time away will do him some good. They've also lost Valentin Barco to Strasbourg. James Beadle, England's under-21 goalkeeper, to Birmingham out on loan, and Ibrahim Osman to Auxerre. Don't know who he is. Oh, of course, Erin Cashin, who's someone who I'm obviously very familiar with, being a Derby fan. He's gone out on loan to Birmingham. Um, Brighton, though, away from transfers, are unbeaten in their last 4 opening day fixtures. Moving on to the away side, Fulham. And I can see at this current point in time, Fulham really, really struggle. I didn't know how quiet Fulham had been. Obviously, I do follow the bits and bobs of main transfer news and whatnot, but I've not seen anything on Fulham, and I know why. They've only signed one player, Benjamin Lecomte from Montpellier. Um, but on the flip side of things, like Newcastle and Villa, they've not lost very many players, and they've kept the majority of their core players from last season. So, is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I'm sure Fulham fans would love to see new faces come through the door at some point. But yeah, it's hard to see. I mean, Fulham aren't a bad team. They've got a very good manager, very good foundation, and have been in the Premier League for a few seasons now. So yeah, I'm sure Fulham fans will be looking to bring in some new faces. No, Fulham fans won't bring in the new faces. Fulham fans will hope that the club brings in new faces. English is difficult, and I'm sweating up here. It's very difficult to keep concentration. My score prediction for this one: Brighton 2, Fulham 0. Second of the 3 o'clock kickoffs: Premier League new boys, Sunderland versus West Ham. The Black Cats return after 8 years away. And I think they've done some outs. As of right now, I think they are the best placed right now as regards to staying up out of the top three. The three that came up from last season. Um, Granit Xhaka, what a signing that is. Yes, okay, getting on a bit, but what a signing. Plenty of Premier League experience. Will know a lot of the players that the clubs have. You know, brilliant, brilliant signing. Touched on it when from Brighton's losses. Simon Adingra, brilliant signing. Uh, Habib Diarra, don't know, from Strasbourg. Enzo Lefebvre, who was core to their championship campaign last season. I think many Sunderland fans are happy about that one. They've also signed Noah Siddiqui from Union Saint Gilloise. I think that's how you pronounce it, both name and club. Uh, Renildo Mandava from Atletico Madrid. Uh, Kemsdean Talby from Bruges, Robin Rofs from NEC Nijmegen, Mark Guiu. I don't know. How do you pronounce that? Guiu. I'm just saying that from Chelsea. Um, Obviously, I think he's featured for Chelsea before in the Premier League, so a little bit of Premier League experience there. And they've not lost many players either. Sunderland. Tom Watson to Brighton, as mentioned. I'd have loved to see seen Joby Bellingham be given a chance in the Premier League. Obviously, Jude didn't get a chance to play in the Premier League as of yet, or I don't think he did, unless he was a very very young boy for Birmingham. But Birmingham have been out of the Premier League for a long time. Um, I'd have loved to have seen him given a chance to shine in the Premier League. However, he's moved on to Dortmund. Um, West Ham side of things, they'll be hoping probably for a little bit more consistency. They were very, very inconsistent last season. There were times last season where I thought they looked okay, and then there were times where they just looked absolutely awful. But they haven't bought in. They brought in a few players, but they've not bought. They've not spent big. Um, John Chair, that was a place of a cursor. John Claire Todibo from Nice, El Hadji Malik Diouf from Slavia Prague, Daniel Cummings from Celtic, Kyle Walker Peters, obviously heard of Southampton, Callum Wilson on a free from Newcastle, and Mads Hermansen from Leicester. Uh, Again, I don't know. I don't know what to make of the signings. Kyle Walker Peters, obviously Premier League experience. Callum Wilson, Premier League experience. Mads Hermansen, Premier League experience. But for especially Walker Peters for Southampton, Mads Hermansen for Leicester, very poor Premier League quality sides that they were in. Uh, who knows? Obviously, the big loss for West Ham. Mohamed Kudus, what a grab from Tottenham, by the way. Aaron Cresswell's gone to Stoke. I know he featured last week for Stoke against Derby. Played very, very well. So good signing for Stoke. Vladimir Kufal has gone to Hoffenheim. Other than that, obviously, apart from Kudus, they have lost. Obviously, Antonio been released. Lucas Fabianski's been released. Danny Ings and Kurt Zuma also released. The rest are, I presume, younger players out on loan to lower league clubs. So yeah, difficult to see where West Ham sit. I think we're probably at this point looking at a very, very similar campaign to last season, unless they can get more faces through the door. My prediction for this one, even though for some reason I've gone for West Ham on my ACCA, Sunderland 1, West Ham 0. Moving on, Spurs versus Burnley. Now, Thomas Frank's men, obviously, they've played one competitive game this season already. Somehow managing to spurs everything up as per usual in the last 5 or 6 minutes of the European Super Cup, 2-0 up against PSG, conceding two late goals and then losing on penalties. But in regards to, I mean, I never watched the game. I didn't get to see see the game, but from what I read, uh, Tottenham looked better than what Spurs would have looked last season. Um, and I think Thomas Frank is a great manager. Obviously, built Brentford from this mid team, no, yeah, mid table championship team to obviously a mid table Premier League club in very few seasons. Great job. I think they've got a very good manager. They've made some very good signings as well. Obviously, we talked about Kudus. Just great grab. Uh, Kevin Danzo from Lens, Matthias Tell and João Palhinha from Bayern, which I think great signings. They've also signed Luka Vuskovic from Split and Kota Takai. I had to be so careful not to say Dakota Kai then. Uh, that was so weird. From Kawasaki Frontale, so I presume Japanese player. Um, they've lost not very many players from the core side. Pierre Emil Hoiberg is probably the big one. Uh, the rest, Mikey Moore featured, I think, at some point last season, but the rest, all probably loanees out on loan to lower league clubs. So I think Tottenham have got a right foundation. Obviously, big blow losing Madison uh, to his injury. Um, but I think Spurs are in a better place than they were. I think they've no disrespect to Ange. I think Ange's football was just far too attacking minded, and Tottenham just didn't have the defenders at all last season to cope with that. I think probably defensively they still need to look for a few more faces. Um, but I think in Thomas Frank they're going to be a little bit more sturdier and a little bit more conservative as to a gung ho attack style football. Uh, Spurs are also unbeaten in the last four opening day fixtures. Could it be a good omen? Burnley, at the moment, are the epitome of a yo-yo club, in and out the Premier League, down to the Championship. Uh, and some of the signings they've brought, I think, are very good. Very much looking towards Premier League experience. Kyle Walker from Man City. Doesn't matter how old that guy. I mean, what is he? 34, 35 now. You still see he's got the legs to not so much necessarily run up and down the pitch as much as he used to, but definitely if you know even if he's got a yard disadvantage on an attacker, he's still able to just run and catch up with him. Uh, Axel Twanzebe, I don't know if I said that right, from Ipswich. I'm guessing he featured for Ipswich last season. Jaden Anthony, thinks a great buy from Bournemouth. Martin Dubravka, Premier League experience, plenty of years for Newcastle. Then they've signed a trio of Chelsea players. Leslie Ukachukwu, great name, love that one. Armando Broya and Bashir Humphrey, which they bought Bashir Humphrey for 10 million. So I mean, I don't know if he featured at all last season for Chelsea, but the other two are either loanies or undisclosed fees, um, which confuses me because I thought Armando Broya was supposed to be the next big thing. Again, like Evan Ferguson, yet to set the Premier League alight. Maybe this is his season. They brought in a few other faces as well. Loam Chanoa. I don't know if I said that right, from Lazio. Quilinci Hartman from Feyenoord. Marcus Edwards, I think, was at Burnley last season on loan. So they signed him permanently. Zian Fleming from Millwall. Max Weiss from Karlsruhe. And Jacob Brun Larsen from Stuttgart. And I guess this is just to replace, like, well, not all of them, but Dubravka certainly will replace James Trafford, who's gone to City. CJ Egan Riley's gone to Marseille. And apart from that, Josh Brownhill, I know Josh Brownhill, Nathan Redmond, and John Joe Shelby have all been released. The rest, I don't know. I've never heard of. So, yeah. Um, but Burnley haven't won on the opening day since 1920 season, which isn't all that far away. To be fair, I don't know why I said it how I did. Unfortunately for Burnley, I can't see an outcome where Burnley win, even if it is Spurs. I just think Spurs have got a more sturdy manager, and I think they will run out comfortable 3-0 winners. Don't hate me, Burnley. Um, Moving on to the late kickoff on Saturday, Wolves versus Man City. Wolves, yeah, they've lost quite a few big faces. Um, but let's bring in, let's bring in, talk about the players that they have brought in. Fair Lopez and Jorgen Strand Larsen from Celta Vigo. John Arias from Fluminense, and David Moller Wolf from Alkmaar. I've obviously heard of Jorgen Strand Larsen. The other three, not so confident on. Um, but yeah, look at the players they've lost, especially like the first two. Mateus Cunha, obviously the big one, was very much stand out in Wolves' season last season. Ryan Nori, sorry, from he's gone to City. Goncalo Guedes, I think, played a lot last season. They've also lost Craig Dawson and Pablo Sarabia, and Nelson Semedo as well. They've all been released. So yeah, I think Wolves fans will be definitely hoping for a few more fresh faces to strengthen up what could be a long campaign for them. And they're usually slow starters as well. They haven't won since the 1920 season, but obviously they've been in the Premier League consistently since then. City, very disappointing last season. Not that I'm complaining about it. Um, into what as to what we're usually used to seeing with City, and they've dug into the transfer market. They've signed Tiani Reinders from AC Milan. I think it's a great pick. Very underrated player. Rene Anori, obviously from Wolves. Rayan Cherky from Leon. I feel like I've heard that name somewhere. Sver Noipan from Leon as well. James Trafford from Burnley and Marcus Bettinelli from Chelsea. Uh, they have lost Kevin De Bruyne to Napoli, Kyle Walker to Burnley, Jack Grealish on loan to Everton, which I think is good for Jack Grealish and Everton and Man City. So I feel like that's a win-win situation for everybody. They've also lost a few uh, players on loan. Divin Mubamba again went to Stoke. I think he played last week, so against Derby. So other than that, not really heard of any of those. Scott Carson, the ever-present Scott Carson, has been released. Sure, Man City will live with that. I think Carson only played like 3 or 4 times. Um, Score prediction for this: it's hard to see anything past a City win into it. It's just how big they're gonna win by. I think Wolves 1, City 4, and come the end of the first week, City will be top. Um, Moving on to the first of Sunday's fixtures, Chelsea versus Crystal Palace. Uh, I've seen many people put Chelsea in contention of the title this season. And whilst I don't think they're a million miles away, I just think, especially the likes of Arsenal, Liverpool, and City, I just think they need a little bit more. Maybe the signings that they've brought in will be that gap. They've brought in Jamie Gittins from Dortmund, João Pedro obviously from Brighton, Liam Delap from Ipswich, but they've also brought in Joral Hato from Ajax, Esteval Willian from Palmeiras, Dario Esugo from Sporting, Mamadou Sarr from Strasbourg, and Kendry Paez from Independiente, although he's gone out on loan to Strasbourg. Um, but yeah, maybe they are the bridge to what Chelsea need to sustain. Because there was parts of last season very early on in the campaign where everyone was like, "Oh, Chelsea are doing very well." There, I think they were either top at some point or they were 1 or 2 points off Liverpool. Um, Hopefully, for Chelsea fans, they can sustain a full title challenge, and maybe we'll have a four-horse race this season, which will be fantastic. The more teams involved in a title race, the better. Um, I think Chelsea's big losses are Noni Madueke to Arsenal. They've also lost Kepa Arrizabalaga to Arsenal. Keenan Dursby Hall has moved to Everton. And then we've touched on a few others from Burnley, Armando Broya, Leslie Ogochukwu. I just wanted to say his name again. um, yeah, other than that, they've kept. Oh, Jao Felix has gone as well. I've just seen that one. He's gone to the Saudi League. Other than that, I think Chelsea are in a strong position. I think definitely European football on the cards for them. Palace. Now, Palace is a tricky one because despite winning the FA Cup and obviously the Community Shield last weekend, they've only signed 2 players. And whilst they haven't lost the core of that team yet, there obviously are big talks about Eze leaving, Mark Gahey leaving. And obviously, Palace fans, if they can keep hold of them, you can build a foundation. I just think Palace need at least 4 or 5 new faces to build a solid, sturdy squad that builds the depth. They've got European football now. An injury to anyone, given you know the lack of depth that Palace have at the moment, um, could be trouble. Uh, and especially, like I said, they've got European football now. So, although wrongfully been demoted to the Europa League, in my opinion, but hey ho, I don't make the rules. Um, Maybe only wrongfully because Forest gained from Palace's loss. Um, my score prediction for this one: Chelsea 2, Palace 1. Sorry, Marshall. Moving on to the second of Sunday's games, Forest. Goody. I love talking about Nottingham Forest. Not. Versus Brentford. Let's not take anything away from Forest's campaign last season. They were fantastic. Nobody expected Forest to be challenging the Champions League positions. Obviously, they did slip away in the end. Uh, Obviously, they've gained from Palace's loss and will be playing Europa League football. Um, However, I think Forest fans, given the fact that they are in European football, will be a little bit frustrated that they haven't brought in many fresh faces. I do think Dan and Doy, by the way, is a quality signing. Uh, I think they've been linked with a few others, uh, and if they could get a few more players in, I think they'll be set. And I think, unfortunately for me and the rest of the Derby fan base, Forest could have a good season again. At this moment, though, I do think you could struggle, given the fact that you've got more games to play. I think it'd be great chance for the younger players in like the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup. I think Forest season will probably focus on doing well in Europe and trying to maybe sneak in back in next season and then build from there. I think that'll be a very good season for Forest. Um, Obviously, big loss in Anthony Elanga, but went straight out and bought Dan and Doy, which I think is a straight swap. So yeah, Forest, few more faces needed. However, on opening day fixtures, Forest are yet to win any of their opening day fixtures since they were promoted last. I'm not going as far as back as, you know, 1990s, 'cause that doesn't count. Um, However, I think for Forest benefit, they are against a Brentford side who again have just lost so much of the core of their team from last season. Obviously, they lost Ivan Toney last season. Uh, this season, they've lost Brian and Mbeumo to United, Christian Norgard to Arsenal, Mark Flecken to Leverkusen, um, and they haven't really brought in a lot of star quality, um, which emphasizes the urge for Johan Visser to stay. Obviously, he's been linked with Newcastle, I think. Um, they brought in Kelleher to replace Flecken, which I think is a quality signing in its own. But I don't think a team can have just one quality goalkeeper and then look to, build from there. I think they need replacements for Embuemo, Norgard, definitely. They have brought in Jordan Henderson from Ajax, but obviously Henderson is a little bit older now. Plenty of Premier League experience, of course, but I don't think him. I can't see him being obviously a main feature for Brentford. So unless Brentford really do spend big, they've got the transfer fees from Embuemo, Norgard, and Flecken. I think Brentford could struggle. I do actually have Brentford going down this season. Um, I hope not because I have nothing against Brentford, um, but they're going to need a few faces. Um, since promotion, though, they do start well. They are unbeaten in their 4 Premier League fixtures, opening day fixtures. However, as of right now, I can't see anything other than a Forest win. So sadly, I'm going to have to go Forest 2, Brentford nil. Then we come up to arguably the main event of the weekend. Let's be honest, Man United Arsenal. Regardless of Man United's poor campaign last season, it always is a spicy fixture. Who doesn't love watching United and Arsenal go at it? Maybe lost its edge since the likes of Vieira and that lot and Keane. Those days used to be peak Premier League football. Um, yeah, I think United will be definitely looking to move well away from last season's campaign. Had it not been for the top 3, bottom 3, oh, they were in trouble, weren't they? Let's be honest. They have gone the right way about it in the sense that the players they've brought in. However, where the hell are Man United getting £207 million from when they've not sold any of their players? They've been notorious over recent seasons, like Chelsea have, like City have, and they've just. Where are they getting this money from? I'd love to know. United fans obviously will know a little bit more about that than I will, but seriously, £207 on 4 players. By the way, that's not like a whole new team. That is only on 4 players. But you can't deny the quality that they've brought in. Obviously, in Buemo, he's going to be key for this season for United. Cunha, quality signing again. Benjamin Sesko, whilst he is quality, and I'm not taking any way away from him, unproven in Premier League, obviously. I hope he hits the ground running because he's a very, very good striker on his day. Um, and yeah, I hope, in a sense, as well, that it kicks Hoyland up the booty. Hoyland is not a terrible player. He's just not hit the ground running as everyone at United expected. Um, I know there's talks of Hoyland actually going out on loan, but I think he wants to stay and prove that he can be a feature for United. And again, apart from Rashford, United have got the core of their team still there. Um, so, I don't know whether that's a good thing given last season's disastrous campaign, but, you know, they haven't lost anyone permanently apart from the three released players of Ericsson, Evans, and Lindelof. Um, Everyone else out on loan um, for the season. But yeah, I do expect a much better campaign for United. I think possibly challenging for the Europa League, Conference League places. Um, but we'll see. There's no doubt that United have got quality players. It's just finding a way of getting them to all work together because there's times where they can be absolutely breathtaking. And, we saw little glimpses of that last season. And then there's, like West Ham, there's some times where you look and they just don't look bothered. Um, I'm sure many of you heard Roy Keane's rants about Manu last season. Quality, by the way. But yeah, um, I think they're in a much better position than they were last season. Arsenal, I think they will be disappointed in the way last season went. They did finish 10 points behind Liverpool. Uh, and like United, they have brought in some really, really good players as well. Let's state the obvious signing. Obviously, Victor Gyökeres, absolute mental campaign over in Portugal. Can he do it in the Premier League? He's got all the qualities to do it. Obviously, I've obviously been a Derby fan. He was at Coventry, and he was banging in goals for fun at Coventry. So I hope he can hit the ground running for Arsenal fans' sense. Noni Madueke, I don't know what to make of this signing, especially for the money they've spent on him. I think it's very risky, but hopefully, I mean, he's still young. He's still young. He's obviously in the line, the fringes of England setup as well. So hopefully, with a slightly better squad than Chelsea's, he can hit the ground running. Christian Norgard, I think, is such an underrated signing. Very, very good signing. And for only 15 mil, I think it was. Very good signing. Um, so, yeah. And again, Arsenal haven't lost many players. Jorginho to Flamengo, Kieran Tierney, when fit, was okay. He's gone back to Celtic. Other than that, they haven't lost any of the core players. Tomiyasu was on the fringes. They've obviously released Thomas Partey, but the less said about that, the better. Um, Prediction wise, it's going to be entertaining. I think I'm going United 2, Arsenal 2. Um, Looking forward to that one. Um, and then we come up to the final game of the weekend: Leeds versus Everton. Leeds return to the Premier League, starting at Ellen Road. I think the atmosphere for this one, I mean, let's be honest. Again, as much as I hate Leeds, their fans are absolutely quality. The atmosphere in Ellen Road is always mental. Um, they have, however, been the least active of the three promoted clubs, but I think they are better suited already. So I don't know whether that's going to balance things out. Uh, as of recording this video, they have signed Dominic Calvert-Lewin on from Everton. Sorry, uh, they've also signed Jaka Biol from Udinese. Udinese, don't know who he is. Sean Longstaff, I think, is a very, very underrated signing again. Very, very, he's going to be good in that midfield. From Newcastle, Lucas Perry from Lyon, don't know. Anton Stack from Offenheim, Sebastian Bornov, and Luka Mekcha from Wolfsburg. Sorry, guys, my pronunciation is. I'm sure as they feature in the Premier League, I'll get more and more used to saying these players' names. Um, And again, they haven't lost many players. I think Joe Snowden's the only permanent signing they've got, apart from that they've sold, uh, as well as the release of Juni Firpo and Joshua Julivogi. Don't know who that was. I know who Firpo is. Um, Matt Verber, sorry, has gone on loan to Werder Bremen, and Matteo Joseph has gone on loan to Mallorca. Um, so yeah, they've not permanently lost too many faces. Um, so yeah, could be an interesting season for all the all the three clubs coming up from the championship. I think they're better suited than the three that came up the season before. So I think it's going to be a lot closer. Do they have the tools to stay up? We'll see. Everton, uh, they finished strongly last season. I think at one point they were like 3 points off the bottom three, and then ended up beating Spurs, United, West Ham, and whoever else was down at that bottom half of the table. So they finished strongly, and I think they'll be looking to build on that this season. Um, I like a lot of sides, though. I do think they need to bring in a few more faces. Um, they've obviously brought in Kiernan Dewsbury Hall and Jack Grealish, who we touched on earlier on. Um, they've signed Mark Travers, sorry, from Bournemouth. Charlie Alcaraz from Flamengo. Tierno Barry from Villarreal. And Adam Asno from Bayern. Don't know who those three are. Um, but yeah, a few more faces needed, I think. A few more quality players. And there's no reason why Everton can't finish top half this season. Uh, Neil Mope, Calvert Lewin are amongst the losses. Asmir Begovic, Mason Holgate. I'm surprised they didn't extend Abdoulaye Decore's contract. Maybe Everton fans will, you know, give me a little insight on that because was he not a star player last season? Um, so yeah, uh, predictions for this one. I think Leeds will start well. I think it's going to finish 1-1. I think Everton are going to nick a draw. Um, so yeah, that is the opening day fixtures. I am thoroughly looking forward to it. I'll drop a link to the Get Involved Twitch channel. I should be live for at least one game over the weekend. I'll obviously drop a link to the Discord. That's where we drop all our go live notifications. Um, and until next week's predictions, see you soon, bye, guys. Bye.